If doctors can't ethically market and communicate and sell outcomes and protocols they believe in, and they have to rely on what insurance pays for, people aren't offered the optimum solutions.
My name is Michael Rubino. I'm on a personal mission to make sure you don't get sick inside your own home.
I knew there was something wrong. I'm just so relieved there's something that you can do about it.
Hi, I'm your host, Michael Rubino, and thank you for joining us for another episode of Never Been Sicker. Today, I'm interviewing Vivian Rain, who is an extraordinary human being. And I say this because I already know what's about to happen in this interview, so you better keep watching. Vivian, really nice to meet you. How are you today?
I'm doing great. Happy to be here. Love what you're doing and just excited.
Fantastic. Please tell us who you are, your background, what you're doing, and let's definitely get into some of these lovely products you have here.
Excellent. Well, I, like you identified, we have a serious problem in the United States. And I'm not a doctor. I have a sales and entrepreneurial background. When I observed for myself how sick people were and that there were actually these really great treatments that just never got presented to people because, quite frankly, doctors don't know how to present and get paid for them. I thought I can use my abilities to really help them bring this to the masses. So I've dedicated my career to that and making amazing elite healthcare accessible to everyone.
Good. Well, I guess before then, we should back up a little bit. So podcast is called Never Been Sicker.
Yes.
It's really the sad reality that we've never been sicker than we are today, right? With all the chronic disease that continues to prosper and flourish, which is not what we want to happen, by the way. And then if you think about this idea of we have advancements in medicine and advancements in technology, how do we have such a broken system then? And so I would love for you to share, because you basically just highlighted what everyone goes through. I go through this broken system. I come out the other side, no more fixed than when I started this process. And so I took it upon myself to get healthy and to create amazing products that can help others get healthy. So please share from your perspective, like what's happening here?
Sure. So doctors go to school to be doctors, right? And I'm the new thing that's helping make them rich. And here's why that's actually important. And it's not really about the money. It's because if doctors can't ethically market and communicate and sell outcomes and protocols they believe in, and they have to rely on what insurance pays for, people aren't offered the optimum solutions. And that's where I identified the system was really broken. I think, to generalize, the generations preceding us were sold a bill of goods with healthcare. And healthcare really is sick care. It's designed for keeping you not sick, not dead. It's not designed to provide you optimal health. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people were sold a bill of goods. You pay X amount per month, you're going to get healthcare. And you really get sick care, catastrophic care. And
ain't that the truth?
Right? And I think that people still rely on, I'm going to go to the doctor and they're going to make me healthy. And the truth is they make you not sick and not dead. And an optimum level of health, we need to have a pivot in our mindset that it's an investment. And you actually have to invest in it. And you're going to have to, be your own advocate for a different level of health. And to reach optimal health is not going to be covered by your insurance company. It's just not the system that we live in. So I think that's largely where we've gone wrong, is people expected to pay a certain monthly amount, go in and be made healthy by their doctors. And the system isn't set up for that.
Wow. That's really powerful. It's so true, because I think I pay like $2,600 a month in like insurance.
Yeah.
And then when I go to the doctor, which I don't go to the doctor a lot frequently, which is great, but when I do go, it's like $50 or something, copay, right? And then usually it's like, here's a prescription to antibiotics, right? And then
exactly.
I take that. That's like another, I don't know, $10, $15 or whatever it may be, right? I feel like I don't ever get the value out of that $2,600 a month. It's not like I'm paying $2,600 a month and feeling healthier.
Right.
I'm basically just paying $2,600 a month so that if I get hit by a car and need to go to the hospital or whatever, that I'm covered, right? And that's a big what if, and I'm spending a lot of money, but yet I still have to go out of my way and buy supplements to get healthy, right? And take the things that that my body needs support for. And I still don't feel like I'm at the top of my game where I need to be.
Right. And that's typical of everybody, right? You pay an exorbitant amount for health insurance. And really, we have to get real about it. It's catastrophic coverage. If you get in a traumatic accident, you have a serious disease state that needs to be addressed, great. You're in, honestly, the best place in the world to be as far as that type of care goes. This isn't medical bashing of those services. Like, they serve a valuable purpose. But when we expect them to go above and beyond that, that's where we're entering into the disease state. That is medical intervention, and healthcare is for disease in sick states. It's reactionary, right? And we have to proactively start to address health. So if we look at insurance, like people look at car insurance, and we look at health insurance the same way, people would be better off, right? You pay for your car insurance and you don't do nothing to your car until it gets hit, right? You change your oil, you get it washed, you vacuum it out because it becomes a mess. You take care and maintain it along the way. Yet people aren't treating their bodies the same way. They're waiting until something catastrophic happens, and then they're expecting their insurance to change the oil.
This is the car. This gets
car.
Me from A to B.
Right.
Like a car. Wow.
No, not even like a car. How many cars will you have in your lifetime?
That's true.
Right? You're going to go through many cars. You wear it into the ground. You get the new one, the new shiny one with all the upgrades, right? You have one body this lifetime to keep going. And a lot of us drive it really hard in what we do in life, and we demand a lot out of it. Yet the maintenance involved in that and the investment in keeping it running optimally is minimal.
That's so well said. I didn't even think about it like that. And you're so right. Because, you have a car, you do maintain it well. Mm-hmm. I mean, some people might not maintain it as well as they should, but in generality, right, the idea is to maintain it well. And the body needs to be maintained the same way that you would maintain a car, if not better, because it's even more important, to kind of maintain it that way. So it's really interesting that you put it that way, because now I'm like, yeah, wow, we need to do that better. We need to breathe cleaner air for our bodies. We need to drink cleaner water for our bodies. We need to obviously eat cleaner food for our bodies. And then we need to supplement our bodies for whatever imbalances may exist. And obviously there's this whole technology of biohacking, which I can't wait to get into with you.
Me too.
Because obviously these are things that you can do to be in control and be at cause over your life and your health. So I'm curious, we talked about some medical interventions. Is biohacking part of taking control of these medical interventions that are available to us?
So I look at biohacking as proactive and medical intervention as reactive, right? So biohacking is about changing habits, environment, biology to get your body to work more efficiently and optimally, right? Whereas medical intervention is necessary when you have disease states or emergency states in your body that need to be managed, and you need an actual protocol and oversight, right? Things have gone awry. And biohacking is the preventative steps. Like, how can we get this car working more effectively? People are taking it to the nth degree in using the car analogy. They're getting into F1 type. What could I do to just gain an extra second? Some people are taking it to that extreme, but I think it's moving in a really fantastic direction where the proactive conversation is really taking hold.
Yeah. Like Brian Johnson just came to mind.
Oh,
guy's like spending $1 million a month or whatever, just going to the max and nth degree.
Exactly. The Brian Johnson, Dave Asprey, Gary Brecka, I love the conversations that are happening around those things.
Amazing. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And obviously if you can afford it, you're looking to figure out what is the best way to go about this, then obviously go for that. Right. But for the average person, it's really not that difficult, is it?
No, it's not. And that's part of what I've worked to do. I've had the opportunity to work with fantastic doctors around the country to find out what are the best protocols, what are the biohacks that really make sense, what are some treatments to even disease states that can keep you out of serious medical intervention, and then work with doctors to figure out how can you ethically market and sell those to make them accessible to the public, right? Because those won't be covered by insurance is the truth. So what does that conversation with patients look like now? It's interesting. I've worked with hundreds of clinics nationally, and myself have owned and ran clinics that have resulted in, a couple $100 million in cash treatments. Like, I have really dove into this area. The first question most people ask, and at most events, if they're educational events for patients, or when they call a doctor's office, is, does insurance cover this? And when they get a no, or not the immediate answer they want, they hang up. And I think we have to take a serious look at our healthcare and what it really represents as far as insurance-based coverage. Because I would challenge people to consider that I want to call a doctor's office and ask if they do treatments outside of what insurance covers, or if insurance covers this and they say no. I'm a little bit excited because I know this doctor has now chosen what he feels to be the best-in-class treatments outside of just only what you can do that's reimbursable, and is now making them available to me. And I think that shift on the patient's part is really needed in the conversations that we're having.
I think that's brilliant. I totally understand everything you just said in terms of like the mindset shift. As a matter of fact, I feel like we just need a mindset reset across the boards, right? Because to me, the foundation of health is so simple. Like, we've made it so complex for almost no reason at all, other than maybe to line somebody's pockets. But it really comes down to breathing clean air, eating clean food, drinking clean water, and having clean supplementation. And of course, like the gadgets that we have, right? The gadgets that we have could be amazing to improve our health and overall well-being and give us that oomph. Like, I'm not sponsored by this company at all. I just want to give you an example.
Yes.
I recently bought this thing called 8 Sleep. I don't know if you've heard of it.
I haven't.
Oh, you haven't? You haven't heard of it?
Tell me about it.
Okay, good. So it's a mattress cover, and you put it on your mattress, and it has like this device. Basically, you put water in this device, and it's got tubes into the mattress cover. It sounds uncomfortable, but it's not, I promise. And the water goes through the device, and it either heats up or cools it. So basically, in the middle of the night, if I get like too hot, it'll actually cool me down while I'm sleeping to keep me in that deep sleep automatically, right? And when I first get into bed, you can kind of set it, I like it warm when I first get in. So it kind of heats up, gets it warm. When I get into bed, it's a nice warm bed. I get really comfortable, and that helps me actually fall asleep faster. And then I fall asleep, and it's just regulating temperature while I'm sleeping. It's got sensors into it. It wakes me up in the morning with this like gentle vibration, instead of like this annoying like alarm sound. But the reason I'm saying is like these gadgets can be very, very helpful. And every day I get a report of like how I slept, and I get a score, and it's really amazing. So when somebody asks me, how many hours did you sleep last night? I can actually answer that question honestly. I don't have to like think about it. It's like, oh yeah, 7 hours and 43 minutes. What about it?
That's amazing. My Oura Ring tells me.
Yeah.
That's
like
fantastic. I hadn't heard about that.
Super cool. So I want to play a little fun game, like hack or quack. And what I think is like red light therapy. I'd love to know, is this a hack or is this a quack? I mean, I see it all over the place. I personally don't own any red light therapy. I'm not knocking it. I just haven't tried it. I haven't done the research. So I want to know, what do you think?
Well, I think it definitely works. However, if you can't tell me the wavelength, its purpose, right? The dose that you're getting, then you may just be buying like really expensive Christmas lights.
Wow.
Which unfortunately a lot of people are. And, we've had like any longevity and wellness is really taking a big step forward in the conversation. And so you have a lot of people who are opportunistic. The direct from China, Alibaba, Amazon purchases, you have no idea what you're getting. The red light therapy and true red light therapy products, especially if they make any claims, have to be FDA cleared. And if you're buying some random brand, that you have no idea what you're actually getting. So yes, red light therapy is amazing if you're truly getting a good dose for the purpose in which you're intending it. But if you're going to buy on Amazon from some direct from China manufacturer, you might be just having like really expensive red ambient lighting around you.
Good. So it's pretty much like anything else on this planet. If it's not legit, it's not going to work as intended. So let's talk about what makes it legit. I mean, is there a specific wavelength that you need, or?
So that's a huge conversation, and it really depends on what you're looking to achieve, right? So in aesthetic lights, there's a specific wavelength depending on what you want to accomplish. For example, I'm going to talk a lot about red light, but let's talk about blue light. You know, blue light has a very specific wavelength in the 500s that has sanitation type benefits. And so utilizing on acne clears up acne, right? I'll give you an example of it utilized incorrectly, though. I've seen a lot of gimmicky things where people who manufacture these red light beds are now putting in blue light. I was shocked to see it because it's basically like wiping your whole body down with hand sanitizer. Like, why would you blue light your entire body? You have a lot of great bacteria that exist in a certain balance to keep your body operating even externally properly. So that's a gimmick, right? Like, actually, not even a gimmick. I would go so far as to say I would never get in that bed.
Wow.
Right? So, but blue light utilized in the correct spectrum on minor acne points is really beneficial and it'll help clear it up really well, right? So same is true for red light. Red light therapy is amazing. And we say red, but it's red and infrared. So around 660 to 880 nanometers. 880 is the infrared, 660 is the red light, right? That's fantastic, specifically for pain and inflammation. And it's FDA cleared for certain claims like that because of the amount of studies done related to that. And it got its FDA clearance years ago. Fantastic, fantastic benefits. However, you have to know that you're getting the correct dose. So that has to do with the correct wavelengths over the correct amount of time, right? At the correct power, getting enough of it at a proper distance. So how much is actually getting to you? So think of it like cooking, right? When you cook, you're going to put it on a flame, let's say on the stovetop, and you need the food at a certain height of flame, close enough for a certain amount of time, right? The power and the flame and all of that over a certain amount of time, or you're going to get your food overcooked or undercooked. Same thing's true with red light. So if you're not getting the proper dose, it's not going to do what you're intending it to do.
That's very interesting. And obviously, different red lights can have different intensities. When you said power, I'm thinking like, okay, well, if it's not strong enough, right, it's not going to do the intended consequence, which obviously you're trying to clear that inflammation. So
exactly.
I'm guessing you have a device that you developed.
I have quite a few devices we've developed. So the goal was we treated a few specific conditions within the clinics and the doctors that I was working with. And one of them was neuropathy. Neuropathy is simply damage to the nerves in your hands and feet, right? And so the nerves start dying off. One of the large reasons for this is because your extremities and the majority of your body is actually really small blood vessels. And from a lot of factors, diet, smoking, drinking, medications, the body has a lot of inflammation and it basically suffocates those blood vessels and they die off. And then you lose feeling and all kinds of different sensations. You don't know where your balance goes. If you've seen older people shuffle, it's because they don't know where their foot is below them in time and space, which is something we can do and we don't even think about it.
Sure.
Right? Well, red light has an amazing ability to actually create new blood vessels and really open up the blood vessels that are there and enhance circulation to the area. The creation of new blood vessels is called angiogenesis. So red light really, truly can regrow blood vessels, improve circulation, and then it allows the nerve to heal. And you can actually repair naturally then your feet, your hands, and restore that kind of function again through utilizing red light therapy. When I started, this technology was thousands and thousands of dollars per unit. And it was one of the more beneficial therapies we offered, but it was like cost prohibitive to be sending these home with people to get them enough treatment to get the benefits we wanted.
Yeah.
So that's actually why we got into figuring out how to manufacture this ourselves in a high quality enough product, durable enough to be able to send home with somebody so they can get 2 times a day treatment.
Wow.
And really get the benefit and stop the, dwindling spiral of their health quick enough to prevent any serious consequences, which for neuropathy can be, walkers, wheelchairs, and even amputations. So it was really key for us, for patient outcomes, to figure out how to make a quality product that we could send home with patients at a price point that made sense for both the doctor and the patient.
I'd love for you to help me understand, like just from a very high level,
Sure.
what are the benefits of using red light therapy? And I want to know about it from what are the benefits for a man and what are the benefits for a woman? And the reason being is because I know that typically 85% of my audience is women. But we want to make sure that we're also giving them fair opportunity to sell their husbands on these devices. And I'll tell you, I was at a medical conference once and the guy had the red light therapy and he was showing me he did it on my hand. And then he showed me on both sides, I could see the color difference within 20 or 30 seconds between my left hand and my right hand. I didn't know what was happening. And I was he stopped me dead in my tracks, and I didn't want to be rude, and I was on a one-track mind. I had to get somewhere, but so can you please give us from a very high level, what are the benefits from both people? I want to be sold on this right now.
Okay, so hands and feet obviously are the same in men and women, right? For the most part, and so that can work the same for both. Okay, I'm going to tell you a story about a wild patient that actually led down a really amazing route in red light development for men. So men are going to want to pay attention to this, or women for their husbands. I went into a clinic and I was asking how one of the patients was doing. I didn't even have to ask him. He pulled me over, grabbed me, and he goes, "Guess what?" And these pads, just to give a little context, the pads that we make are long pads that can be wrapped around the foot. And some of our new advanced ones are made for the foot and include a little bit of magnetic technology and different things. They're definitely made for a certain purpose, right? They could be wrapped around joints and stuff. Well, this patient pulled me over and he said, "Guess what?" And I was like, "What?" And he goes, "This works on your penis." And I said,
"No way.
What do you mean?" And he goes, "Yeah, I took it and I put it on my penis and I can get an erection again." And I was like,
shit.
"You did what?" And I don't know. I obviously don't have a penis. The thought never crossed my mind.
Sure.
But really, it's a bit of the same condition that occurs when men are experiencing erectile dysfunction as occurs in the hands and feet when you lack blood flow and circulation and proper nerve function, and it starts to die off from the tips inward. It's basically a neuropathy of the penis of sorts, right?
Wow.
Not exactly, but for the most part, it works the same way. So we actually went and put it in, obviously not a neoprene, we put it in a medical grade silicone and got a patent on a light for men's health, specifically to be utilized on the penis to restore blood flow and proper function without needing to pop little blue pills.
Wow, that's incredible. I mean, I don't have that issue, but I know people do, and obviously have to take pills for it. And I understand this becomes an issue as men get older. So
not just as men get older, I'm going to shock you here. 50% of men will experience some degree of erectile dysfunction between the age of 40 and 70. Above that, the numbers go up astronomically.
Wow.
That's 1 in 2.
I'm only 3 years away from that. This is crazy.
Right?
Well, good thing you have a device.
I do. So improving circulation and restoring blood flow to the area, you can't make these claims, but you can go and think with what that would mean with somebody suffering from erectile dysfunction.
That makes sense.
Right.
Good. Now, women?
So women, stay tuned, but we aren't going to leave you hanging. Red light therapy can operate the same way for sexual health externally for a woman. So lights in the area would also rejuvenate sexual health in the area with those tissues. I would say for women and men too, one of the things that it works really well with is restoring hair growth and improving the amount of hair that grows. That's not a gimmick. Now, there are quality devices and not quality devices, right? You do get what you pay for in the red light market. And I can tell you, I know what it costs to manufacture them, and there are some of them that cannot be legitimate red lights based on the price they're selling them at.
Wow.
But it will improve hair growth significantly with consistent use. But it's like anything else. If you're looking to get in shape and you get a 2-pound dumbbell and you use it once a week and expect miracles to happen, you're going to be sorely disappointed.
Right.
So even quality red light therapy is a commitment. Like you do have to do it on a regular routine basis, depending on what you're trying to accomplish daily, ideally, in order to get good outcomes.
So that brings a lot of good questions up, right? So first off, I'm sort of sold here on red light therapy, and I'm just trying to like wrap my head around what would be my use case for this specifically. And you know, it's interesting because I do think that pretty much anything in life, you have to have some level of commitment or discipline, where you're just not going to achieve the desired result, right? And so, what's my commitment looking like? I mean, am I and which device should I get? I mean, I've seen almost like tanning bed looking devices with red light therapy, or one of my friends sent me a picture, and they have like a whole wall, like a red light wall.
Right.
And, you know, I was just like trying to think, am I just standing naked in front of this wall for 15 minutes a day? Like what am I doing here?
People do. People are wild. So that is an option. The beds are generally utilized by clinics and wellness facilities just because of the expense. You know, even I think the cheaper ones run anywhere from 40 to I've seen them at 150, 200,000, depending on the quality, right? So that's somewhat cost prohibitive, but if you can access those at a wellness facility or a doctor's office, absolutely do them. They're fantastic. You're getting such a phenomenal dose, right, across your whole body, particularly of red and infrared light. For you, I would think, do you ever have any aches and pains? Just shoulder, a knee, anything?
My shoulder sometimes.
Your shoulder. Okay, great. So just to take that for example, one of the pads is a long strip. I like that one. We call it our legacy pad because it was the first one we made, because you can wrap it around anything. So if you get a strip like that with quality red and infrared lights and you wrap it around there, you're gonna get some significant relief potentially after a treatment or two, because you're not super severe, right? If it was an acute situation you're dealing with, I would say morning and night for a few weeks until you start to see it improve. Just when you get up in the morning, while you hit the snooze for one time, just wrap it on, do a treatment, and same when you get in bed at night. That would be sufficient until you start to really see some benefits. Maintenance would be go down to once a week and then, do 3 to 4 times a week. And that would provide an improved circulation to the area, reduced inflammation, and aid your body in healing itself, right? So that's just one use example that would be relevant to you.
So one of the things that I see in the indoor air quality space quite a bit is, these contaminants like mold and bacteria can cause inflammation in the body. How does red light therapy help with that?
Well, one of its things that it's cleared for is reducing inflammation. And whenever you reduce inflammation in the body, it's a positive thing. Inflammation, and especially as you guys know, chronic inflammation leads to disease states, right? So whatever you can do while you're detoxing or trying to improve your health like that to reduce inflammation is going to be a positive thing for you and only aid the benefits of the other things you're doing health-wise in your body. So I would highly recommend if they can get into a bed, great. If they have specific areas of inflammation, a lot of people have localized inflammation that they're very aware of. Their low back, it's their feet and ankles. It's, and if that's the case, then a red light pad can do a lot of benefit. As far as the panels go, right, you mentioned those and people standing in front of them. If they're looking to reduce inflammation, that is an option. It's just like I said about cooking. You got to make sure you're getting the right dose. So if you're a foot away and you're using it for 5 minutes, you might not be doing what you intend.
And is there anything in the red light therapy space that is kind of BS in terms of like people misusing it or making claims that just really aren't valid, that kind of make a bad name for the whole space? Anything you wanted to call out?
Absolutely. So there's a couple things, being not to get super technical, but there's even things where they just cut so many corners that the diodes have both red and infrared in one diode. You're not even getting truly what you think you're getting in that light. Or I'll give you another really basic one that'll allow people to really quickly evaluate if it's complete junk, which is if you take a wave of light and then you put a giant drip of epoxy and then try and send that wave through that, you're going to get it massively diminished. And that's what those light bulb type ones are, right? Whereas we have really innovated, and they have flat flush mount, like these flat diodes now that don't have any epoxy drip. So you're really getting a much better, higher quality dose when you have that. So if you're using one of these old, really, really old lights with like the epoxy drip light bulb style bulbs, you can instantly tell it's a really outdated piece of light technology.
Yeah, thanks for clarifying that. I really appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to shift the conversation a little bit because obviously there's other things besides red light therapy that we can talk about today. You've developed a device that helps with, and I'm going to butcher this probably, pelvic dysfunction.
Yes.
Can you tell us about that?
Absolutely. So I was really horrified to learn a statistic that sent me down a really, like, I must solve this for women. By the age 80, right? By age 80, over 70% of women will have some degree of prolapse. And for those of the people watching this that aren't familiar with what prolapse is, it's actually when the vaginal canal starts to fall outside of the body. The area has atrophied to such a point that it's falling outside the body. And so I don't think we work all this life and create and live as much as we do to experience things like that. No woman I know wants to experience that. And to have it be so prevalent, that over 50% of women will have a prolapse like that was shocking to me. And so what is that about? Why are women suffering like that? What the heck has happened? And the truth is they were sold a bill of goods. I don't know if they tell men this, but they tell women to Kegel. You know what a Kegel is?
I've heard of it. It's like an exercise, right?
It's basically like a voluntary contraction of the muscles down there, right? And a couple things. One, there's like to sit and do 50 Kegels is like, okay, but how often are you going to do that regularly? And you're definitely not going to do thousands a day. But here's the really interesting thing. Only some of the muscles related to pelvic floor health and continence and things like that are actually voluntary. Flex your heart muscle. You can't. It's an involuntary muscle. Right? Same thing with a lot of the muscles in the pelvic region for both men and women. They're involuntary. So what's the solution? Well, I went down a long road to figure that out, and I succeeded. Basically, the device, right, and the handle would be you have to get those muscles, all of them, to contract, and a lot. And you can actually go through a therapeutic program and restore tone and muscle function.
Dumb guy question.
Absolutely.
How much is a lot?
So per treatment, when you say how many contractions, okay, per treatment, and this treatment's for men and women. I can talk to you about the men's part too.
We're going to post a video of me doing this at some point very soon. Don't you worry.
I will bring it in the studio and sit you on it, and we should definitely film that also. But each treatment, depending on, because some of the pulses are more shallow and some are more deep, it's anywhere from 3,000 to 38,000 contractions per session.
Oh, wow.
Per 20-minute session.
20 minutes, wow.
Yeah.
I can't even comprehend that. It's just too big of a number for me to understand.
I'll have to have you feel it.
I'm just going to have to feel it.
Absolutely.
Okay. And so obviously that you've stated the benefits for women.
Yes.
And by the way, that statistic's mind-blowing. I had no idea. And I am really sad to hear that that's been that regular of an occurrence, and really grateful that you developed something to help prevent that.
Right.
What are some of the benefits for men of doing these exercises as well?
Well, I'm going to get to the men, but I do want to say, I think that I love what you're doing because the generation that preceded us, they weren't a group chat posted on social media type of generations, right? They were a generation of secrets. Like you keep it to yourself, you deal with it. And so I love that these conversations are happening because I think people were suffering in silence for a long time with things they didn't talk about. So to get to answering this question, what is the benefit for men? So what happens with men is really interesting. About 1 in 3 men will suffer from incontinence or pelvic floor health-related issues, right, in their lifetime, which is a huge statistic. I personally think it's a massively underrepresented number because I think men only originate that they have pelvic floor issues if they're urinating themselves. And that's like end stage incontinence and pelvic floor issues. How it shows up in men is all of a sudden they get up in the night to urinate. They can't make it through the whole night. And then it's a couple times a night. And then it's 3 times a night. Can you imagine getting up 1 to 3 times a night every night for the rest of your life? Man should be able to go to the bathroom, go to bed, sleep a full 8 hours, and wake up without having to urinate if they have proper pelvic floor health.
Pretty sure I get up in the middle of the night. So
Yep.
not 3 times a night, but at least once a night. So you're saying with these exercises, I would be able to cut that out?
Yes.
Huh.
So what happens is men think that they went to the bathroom and expelled all the urine in their bladder. And they didn't, because the muscles aren't contracting fully to expel it. It's going like this and just kind of expelling. So then all of a sudden you're like, why do I have to go to the bathroom again? I just went, however long ago. And that's because you really didn't. Right? And it starts to show up in different ways too. Men, as they get older, they'll go to the bathroom and they think that everything was out, and then they put it away and have a dribble on their pants. Well, what happened is it didn't have the force behind the hose to get everything out, and it got stuck. And so then when they put it away, it dribbles out. And that's all symptoms of lack of pelvic floor health and strength. On top of enlarged prostate issues and erectile dysfunction and all of those things in the area that are benefited from treatment that we made.
All right. Well, nobody's going to make fun of me because I'm going to be doing these exercises and
having a good night's sleep.
Having a great night's sleep.
Right.
That's amazing. So how many people typically deal with these types of issues?
I mean, it's huge. So it's 1 in 2 women and 1 in 3 men.
Wow.
And that's after age 40 to 70. I mean, they don't even stratify it above that because it becomes such a huge, ridiculous number.
Wow.
So it's a huge epidemic that has really not been talked about. Because if you ask a man if they have incontinence, they're going to say no unless they're in a diaper.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
But it's not the case. So I think that the quality of life, let's just take a 55-year-old man who's getting up 2 times a night to use the bathroom, which is a really typical story we hear, for the rest of their life. Can you imagine never sleeping more than 2 to 3 hours at a time?
I can't imagine that. And you know what I love about this show is I get to learn from amazing people like yourself, because I'm blown away right now by this issue that I had no idea was an issue. That I'm probably one of those 1 in 3 men, by the way, because I get up every night in the middle of the night and go to the bathroom every time,
right,
without fail.
And then imagine what that's like 10 years from now, and then 10 years from that.
Well, you've already told me in 3 years I'm probably going to have erectile dysfunction. So I'm sitting
not
here.
Not that you met me now.
Not that I met you now, but yeah, I'm already imagining this. We're getting to the part of the show where I say, all right, guys, it's time to let our hair down and get into some real interesting conversations. But how do we top erectile dysfunction and all this dysfunction that I clearly am getting closer and closer to? But I do want to say that it's one of these things that I really wanted to ask you is, with all of that you've discovered, because you've discovered quite a bit. I can't imagine what it's like to go through what you've been through and really have to get to this level where you have to figure out your own way forward because the medical system has failed in some of these regards. I'd like to know, what is the biggest lie that you've discovered in the medical community that you had to overcome to get where you are today?
Well, we touched on it, but the truth is the biggest lie is that you're going to go to your primary care doctor and they're going to give you the best treatment possible and you're going to be well. And I know that you're like, oh yeah, I get that. But when you really think about that, that's how millions and millions of people across this country live their lives, with that level of understanding. And that's dangerous because they've now abdicated their health to somebody who doesn't have the ability to offer them what they think they're going to be getting. The people aren't taking the action for themselves that they should be. And so there's a lack of action until it breaks. And unfortunately, the scariest thing is when it breaks, you usually can't put it back together again the same. I'm going to tell you very brief version here of my parental horror story. And I make it through about half the time without crying. So we'll see how I do. when I had first started getting into this field and learning specifically about neuropathy, I grew up in Southern California, and we were at a beach bonfire. And we had been at the beach all day, had our kids, my parents, everyone's there. And when the sun goes down, they have these fire pits, and you can bring firewood and roast s'mores and things like that. So the sun had just gone down. We started the bonfire. And I'm talking to my mom, kind of like we're talking now. And she looks at me, she gets mom eyes, and she's like, "What's that smell?" And something was burning. And so we start looking around thinking like a backpack or a towel or something got too close to the fire pit, and we have a fire situation. My mom let out a scream that I will never forget, because it was my stepdad's feet that were on fire. And he had such a lack of sensation that he had gotten too close to the flames, and it had burned his skin. And he was hospitalized with 3rd-degree burns, and worse than that, holes in his feet, and put on wound vacs and tons of medications to keep the infections at bay, and sent home with one foot still having a hole in it that never closed. And after a partial amputation or two, he decided to let them take the leg. And then he passed away shortly after, just due to all the complications and demands on the body and associated problems caused by that.
Wow.
It was then that I realized, like, nobody's coming to save you at the end in the healthcare world. And what I saw was available with drugs and walkers and wound vacs for people when they go into the doctor's office. And I now know that red light and other therapies are available that could have saved him from this. I was just forever changed. Like, you can't go back from an experience like that. And so finding a solution before you break, right, is key. And I think everyone has something that is bothering them about them they're slightly aware of. It's a little bit knocking, right? Generally, people have like some idea of something that they need to go fix. And that I would call your bleeding artery, and you should take action to figure out what steps are necessary, like as soon as possible.
I'm sorry you went through that. That was such a powerful story. Thank you for sharing that. I know it's not easy to share things like that.
Yeah, but I think it's important, because I think if not with our parents, ourselves, we're all, watching our parents age, getting to a place where I think everybody, even before yourself, starts to question, what do I do for them? And you're watching them deteriorate. And there's a lot that can be done. And then for yourself, there's a lot can be done to not experience that degeneration and go out like that.
And that's obviously gave you the passion to do what you do today.
1,000%. I mean, I was interested before, but then it had a different level of purpose and meaning, right?
Yeah.
I didn't want to sell a widget. I didn't want to, go into all of those other areas and opportunities that I could have with my skill set. I felt that I think Grant Cardone's amazing. I think that I love what he has done, and I think I can do and be the Grant Cardone in the healthcare space, where he took and made real estate and investments only generally available to institutions, available to everyday investors. I want to take and have taken and made these elite treatments that were only reserved for the rich, right, available to the everyday person by helping these doctors ethically market and sell them directly to their patients outside of the insurance and billable market.
Well, first off, I applaud you for that. And I think that is such a noble goal. And I'm here to support you in that endeavor. And I want to help you doing that can you explain a little bit about each product that we have in front of us?
Sure. So we made some red light products. This one that you have right here is the men's health light. You can open it up. Go ahead.
Yeah, let's do it.
It's like the iPhone box. It's just it's a game to try and get the top off. Yeah.
Okay, so it comes in this beautiful black pouch here.
Right. So one of the things we wanted to do with this light was we wanted to make sure, because of the region it's going on, that you could wipe it down. So we did put it in some medical grade silicone. And I first debuted this. I'm not a shy individual, so I actually wore it on stage and turned it on, which was really interesting. But a great way to demonstrate it. So if you fold it, here, Let me show you. And
Perfect.
then I don't have the unit, but I can show you how it works. So there's a magnetic clasp here. And then if it was charged or plugged in, which it's not, but it would light up. And so this is the men's health light, and it's meant to provide red and infrared light to the entire penis so that you're getting a great dose of therapy to improve and or maintain circulation. It's really interesting because I thought it would be, for the older population that's experiencing erectile dysfunction. But my daughter's friends who are in their early 20s are like, yes, I would like one, which I think is exciting because that means that they're not going to experience a fate of suffering those kinds of conditions if they start with it now, right?
Yeah, looks like this will be my savior to my 3-year ticking time bomb here.
There you go, right? This light is a body reboot light. So it is meant to reduce circumference is what it's FDA cleared for. But basically you're looking at any areas that you want to spot reduce, right? Okay. So if your tummy, your thighs for women generally, right? Love handles, things like that. You wrap this on it. And that's what this light is for. I think these are amazing. These are the body reboot drops. I'll tell you how I utilize them. I, for some reason, never really craved sweets, but I have in the last few years. And so I don't really think sugar's great for your body, as you were mentioning earlier, right? And so this really helps me with the cravings of sugar. It's just a drop, put it under your tongue, and I find that I don't crave sweets. So that's just my experience with it. But that's what it's meant to help, is to reduce cravings and make it a little easier to get your diet in its natural supplement.
That's awesome.
And then this one is our original light pad. So I love this one because it's multi-purpose. So if you're going to invest in a red light, I highly recommend it's something like this. Ours come with a protective plastic cover because if you are going to put it on your foot and then you want to put it on your head, you might want to be able to wipe it down, right? So I like it because it can be wrapped around any part of your body. And so if somebody's going to invest in something like this, I'm always, conscious of the investment people are making. I like this because you can wrap it around your head. If you want to regrow your hair, you can wrap it around your foot. If you get a little numbness, like anytime I wear heels, like today, I will be putting this on my feet before when I get home and take them off. And it really will reduce that swelling and pain and get you feeling normal again. So I recommend you invest in one that is multifunctional if you're only going to be able to get one. And that's what your budget allows, and make it red infrared and make sure it's coming from a company that's FDA cleared. And then if you want to multi-purpose it, make sure you can wipe it down so you're not having to put it from your foot to your head without being able to clean it.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And these are for you guys.
Oh, that's awesome. Thank you so much. I can't wait I'm putting that on my shoulder right after this.
Absolutely. And you should.
So we're going to put everything in the comments where people can find all this stuff. So really appreciate that. Please tell us before we go today, where we can find you, where we can find your amazing stuff and everything that you're doing so we can follow along and all the great things that you've created and all the great things you yet to create.
Absolutely. So vivianrain.com is my site, and I have a page with all the links to everything I discuss and anything I mentioned here. My wonderful team will add if I don't have it on there already. So you can go there and find all the resources you need and link to anything I've discussed today.
Awesome. Vivian, I want to thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day to be here with us, sharing all your stories, letting us know about your amazing products and all the things that they can accomplish for us in our health and wellness goals.
Thanks for having me. I absolutely love what you're doing, and I'm so happy to be a part of it.
Thank you. And thank you for tuning in to another episode of Never Been Sicker. Until next time.